Alright, so I wanted to take a look at the character Amy McDougal Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond. Particularly, I wanted to examine what kind of beliefs and values that she has as a person. So let's take a look. Okay, so Amy grew up with two parents, Hank and Pat, who were these very conservative, old-fashioned, evangelical Christian type people. And of course, like many people do, particularly people with, maybe that kind of ideology, they tried to impart these values onto their children, including her, of course. And the thing about it that's interesting is that I think for a lot of her life, these values that they tried to impart in her stuck. And I would say that this is likely the reason why she waited, for such a large part of her life, probably till she was at least like 40, saving herself, being a good girl. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about there. But I think at a certain point in her life, this changes. She gets older, more independent, being on her own and stuff like that. So at one point, she decides to get together with Robert when they're not married yet. I think this is what she was originally planning to do, saving herself for marriage. But she ends up getting together, with somebody for the first time, Robert, before they're married. And, a little later, after they get engaged, she basically goes and confesses to her parents, Hank and Pat, that she's doing this, that she's, no longer a good girl. And, she says that she skipped church to spend time with Robert, after spending the night with him at her apartment. So that she's done this many times before. And the thing that's most interesting is when she says to them, justifies it by saying, I've decided that it's not a sin. Now, this is really interesting. She doesn't say, I don't believe in the concept of sin. She doesn't say, I don't care if it's a sin. She says, I've decided that it's not a sin. So she's basically come up with her own interpretation of what her religion says, the religion that she still believes in, and it's come to the conclusion that she no longer believes that these premarital relations are a sin. She doesn't have to totally abandon, the ideology that she grew up with in order to kind of, think for herself more, have a more open mind about the whole sort of thing. Still not completely abandon your values, but be willing to be flexible, adjust, and do the things that are right for you in your life. Make the proper choices as long as you're not hurting anybody by doing so.